Hello, I am Lanre Ajayi, reaching you now on channel 1973.1 DT on people, places, and events. This is My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary edition. Welcome to Bell National Music Center, popularly known as Studio Bell. This is a spectacular edifice with some genuine architectural display we can see all over the building. And on today's edition, we have a special guest that will bring it in to come tour the space along with us. No other person but Miss Julie Black, the Canadian R&B queen. Alongside will be the CEO of Studio Bell in the person of Andrew Mosca to give us a background information about this space. It's amazing and it's lovely. And like we did on this show, don't move a muscle, stretch. Be right back. Let's go. Hello, still on My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary edition. I have here with me the CEO of the Music Center. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Lanre. How are you?
So introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm Andrew Mosca. I'm the president and CEO of this wonderful facility called National Music Center, located here at Studio Bell in Calgary in YYC, Alberta, Canada.
Now you said wonderful edifice. Now this is one of the best buildings, not only in Calgary, in Canada.
Wow, I'm glad you think that. It's very nice of you.
Talking in terms of the Studio Bell architecture, it was designed by Brad Clearfield of Allied Works Architecture. Studio Bell is a 160,000 square foot gateway to Calgary East Village, clad with 220,000 terracotta tiles.
They were made in Germany.
Wow.
And then they were given a custom glaze by a very well-known European designer named Tischler.
Wow.
From Holland, who's been making architectural features on buildings and ceramics in Europe for over 500 years.
That's
so
amazing.
They created a custom glaze, and each tile was given a glaze after it was sent to Holland from Germany. And if you look at what's unique about the tiles is when there's light on them, you'll notice that each of them has a different shade.
Yeah.
So they're all different.
Kind of reflection.
It's kind of a reflection. And the colors were inspired by the landscape here in Alberta.
Wow.
And in Western Canada. So our architect is a really wonderful designer and studied a lot of the natural qualities of the colors from this part of Canada.
Wow.
And then shared that with Tischler, and they came up with this custom color.
Wow.
And it's one of obviously the signature design pieces of the building, as you can see. It really brings out the beauty of the building. And then also from an acoustic perspective, when we have performances in here, the tiles have been arranged in a certain way so that they absorb sound. And so when we have performances in here, the sound doesn't reflect too hardly on this hard surface. It actually gets absorbed in between the spaces. So it sounds good in here when there's performances.
That is a lot of thought process goes into the specification of making this building.
The architectural design of the building took about 7 years.
Wow.
7 years of work from about 2009 to when we opened in 2016. So that's 7 years.
That's a lot of work.
And so our architectural team worked on all of these details throughout those many years as we were building the building. And the result is extraordinary.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah.
To your point, I mean, we obviously think it's one of the nicest buildings in Calgary.
In Canada.
And you believe so in Canada.
I believe
We're very
so.
proud of that. And we felt that we needed to build a building that was timeless for Canada's music.
Yeah.
Because our music is timeless. And we wanted to make sure we had a home for Canada's music that was equally timeless.
Yes.
And that's why we invested in the architecture. And that's why we have this beautiful building that we now have.
Wow. And I'm looking at all the intricacies, the shapes.
Aren't they beautiful?
Yeah, this is amazing.
So as a designer, you would appreciate that our architect, when they came to study the landscape here, from the urban landscape to the natural landscape, the Rockies, the prairies, the hoodoos, the grain elevators of the prairies, they took all of that inspiration and then created these geometrical forms that you see here. And then because there's a lot of light in Alberta, there's a lot of sunlight, right? So we have skylights here to light up the tiles and to bring natural light into the building. So all of that was thought through by our brilliant architectural team.
Okay, all that thought, we'll be right back. We're just gonna go into the tour of the old space.
Let's do it.
You know, something amazing is here. We're gonna unload. We're gonna unlock magic, beautiful things. We'll be right back.
All right, let's do it. So Julie and I met probably in about 2008, roughly, when the Junos were here 2 times ago.
Okay.
And Julie did a program for us with some youth in
amazing.
our own space. Yeah, and I remember she actually sang a few riffs that the students took and turned into, they kind of sampled some original riffs of hers and turned them into some of their own music, kind of shaped, had some fun with their own riffs. And then spoke about her life in music and also spoke about her experience in the power of music as a form of healing and transformation.
Yeah.
And so I brought Julie in to tell her story to a group of youth.
So when you bringing me back is the question to tell the story on today.
Yeah, that was 12 years ago. Right?
Lots has changed.
Yeah, actually, almost 12 years ago to the date because the Junos are in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So let's say 12 years ago, right?
Wow.
You believe it?
12 years ago.
12 years ago. You know?
You should be back
Yeah.
and tell the story again in this beautiful
It's
place.
amazing. I'm so proud of you. I'm happy for you.
So there's a picture of the old building upstairs on the 4th floor. We'll go there. So that's the last time Julie has been in our buildings. We don't have that building anymore. But this is the new National Museum.
Yes.
This is it here. And it's Canada's, it was envisioned to be a home for Canada's music. And a home means many things. It's part museum, so we can tell our story about the people that live on this land that we call Canada, and how our story of music is told through the eyes of the people that live here, who have come from all over the world. From the Indigenous people that have been here from thousands of years to us that have come from different parts of the world to make this place home. There's a story about music in that.
Yes.
So that's the museum part of it, in a way. And the second part of it is we're a place we put on shows and events, so performances, so we're a presenter. So that's another way in which we tell Canada's story.
Wow.
From artists from all over this country and this region in particular that come here and perform and tell their story. So to share their music.
Yeah.
And then the third thing we are is you would appreciate this, we're a music incubator. So we have a studio space here, and what we do with our very unique studio is that artists from Canada primarily come here to do residencies. And they come here to create. They come here to write.
Wow.
They come here to record.
That's amazing.
They come here to develop their own
Talents,
professional
gifts.
skills as artists. They come and share what they know with others who have lived, who are thirsty for knowledge to be artists. And want to learn from experienced artists like Julie about a path that may work for them, or inspiration.
Yes.
So we do those 3 things: museum, performance, artist development, incubation, and all of it happens here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
That's a lot.
we're a registered charity, so we're a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And we do all kinds of exhibitions here, which we'll show you some of them. We have 4 Hall of Fame partnerships here, which are really exciting. So the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Cercle de la Renommée de la Musique Québécoise, the Quebec French Language Music Hall of Fame, all have their home here.
Wow.
So up on the 5th floor, here, it's Halls of Fame. So icons from this country come here and we celebrate their success. 5 to 6 to 7 times a year. So Jan Arden will be here this year. Last year, Andy Kim and the Cowboy Junkies and Chilliwack and Corey Hart came here to put their plaque on the Hall of Fame wall and perform in our space and tell their story about their life in music and share their stories with people to help share that inspiration around healing in some cases, around just their life in music, and whatever the audiences could take away from their story. That's part of our job, is to share that story and share the power of music. The other things that we do here is we're an education facility, so we have about 20,000 elementary school kids that come here throughout the year. Mostly kindergarten to grade 6.
Love that age.
And they come in and they run around the building and they learn about music and different subjects. And then we put on many concerts. So about 100 to 200 concerts a year.
That's amazing.
And special events happen up in our theater. So what are we going to
Let's go. Yeah,
Let's go.
have a look?
Yeah.
So you can
Let's go so I can get a vision.
Yes.
On the weekend, we had a major festival here with 4 stages. all performing at the same time.
Wow.
One here, one down here, one up on the bridge, and one in the King Eddie. What's unique about this theater is this door opens and closes here. So sometimes performances are played as they were in the picture I showed you. The door is closed, the seats are full, the mezzanines are full, the lights come down, and people perform. Or we do a lot of performances here, and you could play through the whole building.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've had performances here with 1,000 people, 1,200, but the musicians are in the round, so they have to be comfortable with that.
Right.
Or the seats push into the wall, and sometimes performers perform on that end and they play out this way.
Wow.
Or we can
kind of travel through the building.
exactly, and it was designed to do that architecturally and sonically, so the sound in here is fantastic. We spent, as we were discussing earlier, quite a bit of time studying what kind of programming we'd want to have in here when we were building the building. So all of the tile system in it is sound reinforced, so sound does not ricochet all over the place in here. So depending on what kind of experience you want to create, we can do that here. So it's a very flexible space. And of course, architecturally, it's stunning as well, but there's many different ways in which you could perform here. Intimate for 300 people, open for many more. So there's different ways to do that. Our challenge, Lanre, is we didn't have enough land to build a bigger theater. We only had this much land.
Right.
So our architect, he came up with this idea to build this open door theater.
You must be,
And,
he's an architect too. He's soaking it
I went
in.
to school for
He was,
architecture.
Oh, did you?
yeah.
And he's a Brad Copeville Ally Works Architecture. He's designed quite a few cultural buildings in the U.S. This was his first building in Canada. Wow. He just did an American embassy in Mozambique.
Wow.
In Africa.
Wow.
He's a very talented architect. So he came up with this concept of the doors because I said to him, God, we need a theater with more than 300 seats. He goes, you don't have the land. So let's come up with this concept. At least that way you can have people in the round and audiences hearing the music, maybe not necessarily seeing it.
So do you have screens downstairs or something, for example? They could see what's popping
They
up
do.
here?
Yeah,
Oh,
we do.
cool.
We do. So that's an example of how the theater works. We've decided, because we're based in Alberta, we've done a lot for a lot of artists that live in this province. Noella Charles recently, I mean, a lot of Alberta artists we have welcomed in here, and we've recorded oral histories and interviews with them. And we've made them available.
Can have access. Oh.
This is all we've done in-house, so we see ourselves as a content publishing organization as well, because we're here to support the artists of this country. We live in Alberta, so we've only been open for 3.5 years, so we decided to focus first on artists that live here in our own backyard.
Charity begins from home. Charity begins from home.
Yes. And now we have a lot of artists from across Canada that we are also work with, but the primary focus so far has been largely with artists from this region, because this is our hometown.
Yes.
So that's an example, right, of someone performing in our theater with the wall open.
Wow.
Right, as an example. Right. And you obviously can't see the audience because they're
All over the building.
they're sitting here
Inside, okay.
Yeah. This was a smaller performance. You can see there's nobody in the back, but if you see, like, Paul Brandt did there's Jenna and Tegan and Sarah. It's another thing that we did a couple of years ago, where an icon interviews a couple of local artists, who in this case are becoming icons. In the case of Tegan and Sarah, but they're all from Alberta. Like when Paul Brandt performed here, he did, I don't know, a 45-minute set in the round here. There were about 500 people here. And he performed here in the round with artists all around him. We've had symphony orchestras perform, full symphony orchestra perform here. It's not that big a space, right?
Wow, that is good.
So, and you can hear it all through the building, and it's quite an experience for visitors. So that's what's unique about the performance part of the National Music Center.
Let's go.
Okay. So, a lot of people that I've met in my life think that Oscar Peterson's an American. A lot of people don't realize he's a Canadian.
Wow.
Because we're talking about Black History Month right now. So we see that as something that we need to help champion and educate people that there's lots of these great artists that come from Canada, not from the United States, or from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So part of what we do here is tell that story. So we have 22 galleries like this all over the building, and each has a different story in it.
Wow.
So that's where the museum part is, and each room has a different narrative to it. Some content on the screens, real artifacts that have been used by Canadians, and a number of things that relate to our history in Canada. Like the oldest public broadcaster in Canada is not the CBC, it's CKUA Radio.
Wow.
Who has their Calgary satellite station across the street in our building. That's their original microphone. CKUA Radio from the 1920s.
Wow.
And they've been on the air longer than the CBC. A public broadcaster made in Alberta. So that's a story.
Yeah.
That's a story. Right?
People need to know that.
Yeah, people need to know that. Like when people come here and they see pictures of Anne Marie or John Lennon and Yoko Ono or Leonard Cohen, or even Elvis Presley over there and standing beside Hank Snow, who was a singer-songwriter from Nova Scotia, who had gone to Nashville in the 1950s and whose songs were recorded by Elvis Presley and others. But he was a Canadian. He was one of the first country artists to do well in the United States.
What's the John Lennon story?
That picture was taken in Montreal at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel when they were doing their bed-ins in the late 60s. So they came to Canada as part of their initiatives around peace movements in the 1960s, and they came to Montreal and stayed in that hotel room at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, and that hotel room in Montreal is still there and it's named after them. But that picture was taken in Montreal in the 1960s.
Rich history.
Well, the history of, the 1960s, I mean, all of us are too young to remember those.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm 77.
We're all too young to remember those days.
I wasn't born then.
So in the 1960s, there was a lot of things going on in the world like there is today. There was a war in Vietnam.
Yeah.
There was a civil rights movement.
Speaking
about Black History Month, and Martin Luther King was like one of the, as you know, one of the civil rights icons of that period of time.
Yes.
And
Kennedy assassination.
I mean, and John Lennon and Yoko Ono were part of that movement. And to kind of share their support for that movement, they came to Canada to talk about peace. And they had a bed-in. It was called a bed-in. See, they're wearing their pajamas.
Yeah.
They didn't get out of bed for a period of time. And they had the press come in and interview them.
That's a protest.
Yes. But they were in bed with their pajamas.
Wow.
And it was called a bed-in.
I feel like I want to redo that.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know how, but somehow.
To promote peace in the 1960s, given everything that was going on, given everything that was going on in the world at that time. Like Martin Luther King had just been assassinated in 1967, right? So there was a lot of anger and angst at that time, right? In America in particular. And John Lennon had left the Beatles, or was leaving, in the process of leaving the Beatles, and it was a very hostile period of time. This was one of the first professional recording studios in Canada that had a chance, or that actually recorded a lot of really well-known artists, including the Guess Who, as well as others. So it's a piece of Canadian music history, and it's now here at the National Music Center.
Wow, we're so honored to have this.
Yeah, no, we're lucky to have.
Yes.
We're lucky to have a place.
These are treasures.
Yes, these are Canadian music treasures from Canada's music history. So this is, again, remember I was saying we have 20 galleries like this. Each has a different theme.
Wow.
This is called what we call Soundscapes, the Soundscapes Gallery.
Wow.
And it's a video immersive. It's really wonderful at night. Wow.
And you can see
there's a film that changes over time. And there's a soundtrack that's about 25 minutes long that goes through a wide tapestry of music from this country. And if you look at the images that are here, these are images of Canada.
Yes.
Natural images, urban images, industrial images, and landscape images. So what we wanted to do when we designed the building, again, our architect was very much inspired by land and landscape.
Get close because you have the mic.
Landscape. So we created a gallery where artists from this country have responded to our landscape. So the music that you hear has a relationship to place in Canada from all over. Katie Lang from Alberta singing right here, just for a few seconds. I mean, Katie got her start here in Alberta as a country singer, a western swing singer, cow punk, influenced by sort of the rebels of country music. And so there's a snippet of her, plus she's been a great advocate for LGBTQ issues. and human rights issues as well. So she's one of our icons, and her story is here. It's a real trailblazer. Quite a trailblazer, right?
And this is some animations on the wall.
And there's some animations on the wall that evolve over time as you hear the soundtrack. So it's a video immersive. It's an educational.
Yeah.
It's an educational.
Informational.
Yeah, and visual.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a gallery about the brain in music.
Oh yeah, like
Body and brain.
Body and brain.
MS and
Yeah, and we're doing more in that space. Like this gallery is going to be renovated this year, and we are going to turn that into a music and healing gallery.
Wow.
Around this notion of our physiology is very much inspired by music and influenced by music. So we know that music heals.
Yeah.
We know that there's a power of music that brings us together.
Yes.
A lot of people, there's lots of research, scientific research that has brought new knowledge onto the table regarding why does music bring us together? Why does it heal us? What does it do to our physiology and our brain and our cells? There's more research in the last 10 to 15 years that has come out that gives really good evidence to say that music is a powerful medium and art form for healing. So one of our jobs here at the National Music Center is to champion that message that music heals.
Yes.
And music is a healing form of art that we need more of. So we're doing 3 things this year. We're going to be upgrading the Body and Brain Gallery with some new content. We're hosting a music and healing summit. Maybe we should speak at that.
I'd love to.
That's just thought about that right now. On the spot, you'd be perfect for that. And we are also creating a new program here. It's like a drop-in music and healing program. It's going to start in the spring. It's a little like going to a yoga class at lunch hour, but it's a music and healing class.
Love that.
Once a week.
That's cool.
For
Drop
anybody
in.
that wants to come, drop in.
That's awesome.
And we're starting it in the spring. And so we're just putting the final details on that.
Like what will it be more so meditative? You sit, you listen, like what is
All
it,
of
breathing, all that?
All of that.
Yeah.
It's going to be different every week.
Love that.
Drop in music and healing class.
So you're in that first on My City Speaks to Me.
You did.
Yeah, first on My City Speaks to Me. Music and healing class. Drop in here at the Studio Bells.
Starting in the spring.
That's awesome.
And then a music and healing summit that's coming the date to be confirmed, but in the early fall.
Okay.
I will be here. I want to be. I want to be here.
And we will be here live.
Yeah.
I knew I needed to see you today for something.
Yeah.
Other than just
See the way how the universe connects us together, brings together things in alignment for us.
I think it's a true story. They diagnosed my mom with Alzheimer's a few years before she passed away, and I've watched this documentary on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, but it was about music and
the brain.
And the brain. And dancing and all. So I went and I got certified as a Zumba coach, like on the low.
Wow.
And so every Sunday we started doing Zumba at my mom's.
Very cool.
And true, like I could cry right now. True story. Like she went back to the memory clinic. Medication didn't need to be increased. She was like she lived on her own. Everything was fine.
Wow.
Everything like it's just and those memories, the old memories when we played certain songs, Lionel Richie, this that, and she started to dance, and it just brought. It just connected things.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It connected things.
Love it.
Anyway,
Music is spiritual and it's powerful. Music is
Powerful, man.
So anyway, I wanted
powerful.
to share that with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you.
So this floor, we won't go into every gallery because I want to get you to the other side, but we have a gallery we passed it called Listen. Just about listening.
Wow.
Past it. That's about body and brain. This one
Let's
here.
just come and take a look at this.
This one's called
acoustics. Of this.
Sound affects. So this is an old theater organ from the 1920s. It used to be in our old building. We demonstrated.
1920.
Yeah, 1920s. We demonstrated. You'll see, 3 o'clock today, and then on the weekend. And this controls all of this. This is one instrument, and you can hear it throughout the entire building. They used to use these instruments to accompany silent films in the 1920s, before there was sound on film. They didn't have the technology yet. A musician would animate the film. So next time you're watching a movie, turn off the volume. Imagine.
Wow.
You have to create your own emotion without sound. And live musicians used to do that in the 19-teens and 20s.
Do they call this pipe organs?
This is a pipe organ. This one's called a theater organ because it was used in the theater to accompany silent films. And it was one of the first instruments we ever acquired many years ago in our old building. And it's fully restored and it plays, and it's one of our most popular exhibits in the museum side of National Music Center.
Yeah.
And then the oldest musical instrument in the world that we all have is the
voice.
It's part of who we are.
Now, this guy is doing something all from his voice.
Yeah, Nelson Taguna. He's an Inuit artist from the north. The important thing about the Power Music floor, the oldest musical instrument on our planet is our voice.
A voice, yeah.
And the second oldest is probably the drum. But the oldest it comes from us. It's part of who we are. As a singer right here, I don't have to. I mean, Julie obviously has a very intimate relationship with your voice. You have used it to impact and inspire many people in your career.
Well, funny enough, I just learned more about my voice doing music.
Oh, did you?
I did this.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right, and it was less about amplification, and I really had to. My coach was like, "Listen, it's not the string that makes the sound on the guitar; it's the body." Right.
Very good.
Right, and so
it's the soundboard of
it's the body and the voice. So anyway,
very cool. Yeah. Very cool. So what we've tried to do in here is show some diversity in Canada.
That's amazing.
Voices.
Yeah.
So Corblund's a local singer-songwriter, great yodeler, and kind of what they call outlaw country artist. He's from Alberta. And then you can go in one of these vocal booths and just have some fun with your voice.
Oh, nice.
You can sing along a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's both educational, at the same time it's fun.
Yes.
And then this is just some techniques about the voice and how it's changed, right, over the years. Speak Up is about, again, the Power of Music floor. Music has many applications in our civilization, in our world. And one way in which music has been used to great effect is for movements of people to speak up about a cause.
Yeah.
We all have seen those in our lives.
Yes.
Where you're from, Nigeria, where you're from in Toronto, where I grew up, music has always been a force to communicate a message.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes it's been suppressed because leaders fear it because it's powerful.
Yeah.
That's right.
And as we know, in certain countries of the world, music has been outlawed. So we decided with Speak Up to curate a gallery by an Indigenous curator and group of Indigenous advisors about some contemporary artists that are making music in Canada who are all Indigenous. So, and this, what I think is powerful about what David created here is this, because I think we all know this.
Yeah.
I think we all know that music is connected to the land it originates from. And for what would two people be from different lands if not for music? All music speaks the same language to one's heart.
Yes.
So Steve is an Indigenous artist from Treaty 6 or Edmonton. He's performed on the Grammys before.
Wow.
He's been they have 36 albums or 37 albums out. They just got nominated again on the Grammys for Best Traditional Indigenous or Roots Recording. And this is his group here, Northern Cree. They've been performing for many years.
They're from Alberta.
They're from Alberta. They're from Edmonton.
Wow.
And that's just one artist. And there are many other artists. Some historic, some not so historic. Isque is performing all over now. It's still very active. Same with Jeremy Dutcher. So
and the colors are very intentional.
They are.
Similar to Indigenous colors and the land.
Yeah.
And the dressing and all that, all
And in
blended.
National Music Center, what we've engaged is we have a National Indigenous Program Advisory Committee made up entirely of Indigenous people from across Canada who advise us on programming around Indigenous subjects. And they created this. We did not. We just gave them the space and brought them in, and they helped us create this. So it was a wonderful collaboration.
Yeah.
And so this floor has a theme as well.
Making music.
Making music. It's fun and interactive, and you can anyone that comes to this floor can make music. Lots of simple things like drums, very simple things. And you can just have some fun playing with sound with.
Wow.
Come on this way.
The balloons.
Walk with them. Come on, down, stick, and let's go.
Wow.
So these are items from our collection. And then this is where it gets fun. Like these are some of our most popular floors. You can take a guitar lesson here, a drum lesson. You can learn about Canadians that have done interesting things behind the microphone, or not behind the microphone, but away from the stage, music
Yeah,
makers
behind the
behind the
scene.
scenes. You can mix Canadian songs, you can deconstruct them
Okay.
yourself.
Like sound
Which for-
engineers, all of those, yeah.
Like for non-musicians, you know, who've never spent any time in a recording studio, to come and put on a song and just listen to the vocal track, and then put up the guitar, put up the drums, and just play around with it, be creative.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience.
You find a newfound respect to what
Yeah.
this squashed down MP3, what it actually wave.
Exactly.
It actually is.
So this is a gallery about our
Wow.
history. So Julie, that's the building.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
That was where we started. We worked in that building for 18 years, and that was very grassroots.
Yeah.
And in that building, we envisioned a National Music Center and incubated this idea in that building for 18 years,
It's worth that.
and tried lots of little things, you know, and met artists like Julie and others early on, and just started to program very community-based programming. And I would say after I met Julie the first time in 2008, that's really when the National Music Center idea around that time started to get traction. And we acquired this land here where we are now shortly after 2008, and hired an architect in 2009.
Wow.
So it wasn't long after we met that this plan finally started to get traction.
Wow.
And we opened in 2016.
Yeah. Patience. Look at
Patience.
that.
You
Yeah.
said 7
10
years to design,
Yeah.
to conceptualize all of this.
Yeah, when people ask me how long did it take to build the National Music Center, 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, from the decision to say that we're going to do it, to the land, to raising the money, to drawing the designs, to construction, to opening, 10 years.
10 years.
Took a decade.
Took a decade.
Patience.
That's your
Patience.
10,000 hours right there.
You got it.
10,000.
That's your outliner.
You got it. This is the oldest instrument in our collection,
Wow.
right here.
The oldest.
It's a harpsichord from Italy. It's a piano that plucks strings. You know, like
Oh.
the piano here, you hit strings, right? You know, so right, you hit strings, right? Boom, boom, right?
Yeah.
Showing off up
So,
here.
right? That it plucks the string.
Wow.
Ding, ding. It's like a pick on a guitar, plucking.
Okay.
That you press down a key, it plucks it.
Okay.
So that's before the piano is relatively new. The year 1700 it was invented. Harpsichords have been around since the 1400s, 1500s. They're very old. So that one's quite old.
See, like, explain the design, the
Yeah.
picture.
They called them virginal, just because of the shape of it.
1560.
From Italy.
Wow.
It still plays a little bit. You wouldn't have a concert on it. But
Right.
you can still play it a little bit. And then these are some of the, like when I first met Julie, these instruments were in our collection in our old building. We've collected all of these instruments since about the late 1990s, 1998, 1999, and built this collection. And then we started to design this building, and then we brought everything together and opened in 2016. And then a new chapter of National Music Center began in 2016, which is all of our programs that I described to you downstairs.